Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dato Dr. Majid Konting to the stage.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon, Mr. Philip Lims, Head of SPEED, Dato Alia, Dato Satina, basically my ex-boss, distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to be with you all here this afternoon. And was basically asked to talk about educating for integrity, empowering future generations against corruption. First is about my objective of sharing with you. I try to explore the relationship between the level of education as mentioned by Prof. Azmi just now, what the developing culture and so on. So my focus is not on compliance, not so much on enforcement, rule of law, but more on how to develop integrity, because I'm not very sure whether the previous speakers talk about how to develop this integrity, but somehow they mention it. And then my focus is basically very generic on how to develop the future generation with the integrity. And because of that, first is about the relationship between education and also the corruption. I'm afraid actually to talk about corruption because it's not my field. There's corruption. And then the second is about why we have to empower for the generation against the corruption. And the third, how to empower future generation against the corruption. So I will gather many of the information especially from the international, because being the MAE, Satuan Pendidikan Malaysia, we used to work together with the international organization. I think that is well aware about it, like UNESCO, and we also work with the EI, Education International. Basically they are talking about almost the same thing. But the difference is about education. So first, I think I have to recap some of the education jargons that we use, especially in education. So about education itself, what does it mean by education? My understanding is it's a process of engaging individuals. We have individuals from multiple or various backgrounds, and in learning activity, probably almost similar or the same learning activity with a particular purpose of changing student knowledge. And I think this is very critical here, very pertinent terms, particular purpose. So in education, we normally relate to the concept of developing a nation. In Malaysia, for example, Singapore, why we are different? Because the way we talk about how to develop a nation probably have some differences. So, and then changing this student knowledge, skill, attitudes, and habit. I think Dr. Azmi mentioned about culture just now. That related to the habit with the knowledge. In Islam also, we mentioned about the importance of knowledge to guide us in our everyday undertaking. And then education, therefore, is contentious. So I think it's very difficult for you or for us to find similar, education system. So that's why when people always argue why the other country is better than us, it's like that. I think we have to be careful. Because the concept varies across different ideologies, different political commitments, and also different conception of education itself. Yeah? The second is about teaching. Many of us know about the teaching. It's a classroom process. This is very formal. I talk about education, we have a formal, in the formal system, education system. And the second one is informal education. Yeah, by driving, as mentioned by Dr. Azmi just now, yeah, by communicating with other people. So that's basically informal. But we are focusing on the formal education in our education system. It's a classroom process that involves exploration, explore, choice, decision, and you have to make decision. Creative thinking and the making of value judgment. So that involves value judgment, and later it will become a habit. Things like parking just now. What else? What else? I think mentioned many, but that tells me. Based on the moral purpose of the teachers. I think Raja Azura mentioned about the heart. When I was in AKEPT, we developed the concept of kalbu. The kalbun, not kalbun. Kalbun is anjing. Kalbu. Yeah. So it's a moral purpose. Some maybe companies, private, they are talking about the moral compass of the organization and of the teachers. So here, teachers play a vital role in teaching. Yeah? So that's why when we talk about the teaching, always a teacher. You cannot have teaching without a teacher. Yeah? So, and then the effect, why it is important, we have to develop good teachers. Yeah? And then teaching for quality learning, what matters most in education is actually the learning side, not the teaching side. I'm not saying that teaching is not important, yeah, but the learning side is the most important. So I borrow from Biggs, my good friends actually, teachers activity that results in meaningful learning, concept of meaningful learning. There are many learnings, yeah, some is a superficial learning, they can record, they can memorize, but they are lacking in meaningful. So we are talking about students who understand better what they have learned if they are given the chance to construct their own meaning for each learning activities. And that's why you heard lately things like PBL, problem-based learning, and many more. Actually, the student-centered learning, we call it student-centered learning, not the teacher-centered. Yeah? Then in the case of Malaysia, the been spelled out, I think Dato Dr. Please check, cross-check. We have our falsafah pendidikan negara, National Philosophy of Education, and this has been developed in late 70s. I remember 76 or 79. Yeah? Where education in Malaysia is ongoing effort towards further developing the potential of individuals in a holistic and integrated manner. So as to produce individuals who are intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, and physically balanced. We normally call it as jari, jasmani, emosi, rohani, intellect. Based on a firm belief in and devotion of God. So it depends. As a Muslim, maybe Allah, and then the rest, their own respected God. Such an effort is designed to produce Malaysian citizens who are knowledgeable and competent, who possess high moral standard. Again, what's moral there? Moral standards, and who are responsible and capable of achieving a high level of personal well-being, as being able to contribute to the betterment of the society and the nation at large. So this is spelled out in the document. We call it the National Education Philosophy, and there was referred, as I remember, in almost every education plan, such as the current one. We have two MEB, Malaysian Education Plan. One is for the schools and the other one for higher education. So both actually are referring to this national philosophy of education. And this is the things that we refer to when we are defending or somehow we are protecting our education system. Because our education system, as you know, I'm not saying the totally different, but slightly different from other countries. It's only countries, for example, that we have vernacular school. Yeah? I don't think other countries, they have 2, 3, or 4 medium in the system, medium of teaching and learning. And then, for the case of what you call this one, the integrity, we have a shift number 3 in the Malaysian Education Blueprint for the school. I think this is the last year for the blueprints. They are in the process of developing the new one, and hopefully by next year they will launch it. For integrity, we have a school learning outcome. Now we are talking about the learning outcomes. When you talk about the learning outcome, I have a bit, bit experience, because I was actually the one who led, the project under the Ministry of Higher Education, when we have to basically transform the content-based curriculum. That's why we have the exam. They're gonna take paper and pencil. So the learning outcomes, this will comply with the international standard, things like the Bologna process in Europe and the other countries as well. So here in shift number 3 of the Malaysian Blueprint, the school level, they intended to develop value-driven Malaysian, whereby every student leaves school as a global citizen imbued with core universal values and a strong Malaysian identity. The values they have learned are applied in their day-to-day life, leading to more civic behavior, such as increase in volunteerism, a willingness to embrace peoples of other nationalities, religions and ethnicities, and a reduction in corruption and crime. So every student also leaves school prepares to act as a leader, whether in their own life and family, and especially later to the broader community and the nation. In higher education, we also spell out the learning outcome for education, and this fall under the shift number 1, the balanced entrepreneurial balanced graduate, where every graduate will have relevant disciplinary knowledge and skills. They put it actually ilmu in the bracket, ethics and morality, akhlak, as well as appropriate behavior, mindset, culture, and civilization, literacy, and adab, to advance them to a high level of personal well-being. They will be a global citizen with a strong Malaysian identity, ready and willing to contribute to the harmony and the betterment of the family, the society, nation, and global community. So such holistic, entrepreneurial, and balanced graduate are natural extension of the goal of the Malaysian basic education system to develop a value-driven Malaysia. Alright, this is some of the statistics, although it's not the letters, but I think the trend is quite similar. And we have at the moment, 2019, we have about almost 4.7 to 7 millions children in our school system, primary and secondary. We have 10,208 schools, primary, secondary, and we have seems like a big workforce, teachers population, 420,000 in the school system. And for higher education, you have different levels there, categories, public university and so on. So we have about 1.25 million students in 628 institutional higher learning, with 70,000, almost 7,400 academics in higher education. So there's comparison between always the public is a bit higher compared to the private universities. This is quite consistent throughout. And the next is about why education. Just borrow from the UNESCO. The importance of education lies in its power to shape the value of our coming generation, as I mentioned many times just now, about the habit, about the culture. Those habits must come from the values that we have, and equip them with the knowledge that to make informed decision, because from time to time, our children, our students, and our graduates has to make a decision. And UNESCO also spell out that contemporary challenges, including issues of integrity and corruption, must be addressed through education. So we know this afternoon, even just now that Azmi mentioned about what prevention, compliance, and also the enforcement, am I right? Yeah. So here we are talking not so much on the prevention per se, but we are in the process of developing integrity, instilling integrity, and hopefully can be the habit, can be develop a culture. And before we go to the next step, the prevention and compliance, and also the enforcement. Also, as we mentioned, I think this is easy for me. As we also mentioned about some countries, especially the Scandinavia. So this is the basically the ranking, the best education system. I'm not talking about the best teams or best PISA, which is very subject specific. We are talking about the whole system. So I refer to GCS, the Global Citizen Survey, January 2025. And of course, the corruption index is usual. They are using the Transparency National, the CPI, the corruption perception index. Yeah, so that's not the most corrupted, but the less corrupted on the right. If you can see here, just find out that there is a relationship. I'm not using the sophisticated correlation like what you call the Spearman Rule, of course, multiple aggregation and so on. You just look at the ranking. Yeah. So we have here the Singapore. You find out Singapore. So 1, Switzerland 1, 2, Denmark 3, Germany is not here in the list. Finland 4, no 4th. What? The Norway 5th. Who else? I think New Zealand. New Zealand is 6th. Yeah. So some seems like 60%. It's quite consistent between the level of how best in the education system with the less the corrupted countries. Our Malaysia, sorry, this morning I saw the statistics of 57. but I'm not very sure whether I'm looking at the right statistic or not. But from the CPI, it's 50. So Malaysian is 46. And some TMIS or PISA, they say it's about 51, our position. But that focus on the mathematics, sciences, and English language for the school system. Not the whole education, especially the higher education, whereby in higher education, Malaysia is number 6 actually in the world. So this CPI, GCS survey is more relevant for me, because looking at the whole education system in the country. So how pertinent is integrity? So UNESCO, they have called 190 parties to the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, and they agree to the whole of the society approach. Whole of society approach is not just on enforcement compliance with, as mentioned by many others. I'm not saying it's not important, yeah, but when we talk about education, it's just like some people say it's better to build better, good education system school than, yeah, I'm not saying that hospital is not important, yeah, but because you're talking about the whole population of the country, yeah. So they said they agree to a whole of society approach to counter and prevent corruption. So this thing, when talk about UNESCO, always related to education. Yeah? There are three main statements by UNESCO. One, anti-corruption education stand as cornerstone in the fight against corruption, and making it imperative to instill values of integrity and abhorrence towards corruption from the young age. So that's why I think I mentioned to Philip, when talking about education, it's not just for the school. Talking about education for our children especially, yeah, our relative, families, and our community, our taman, yeah. I think we will have to work together. So that's, we can build up with a strong network, you know, in preventing and educating the culture, and later we will hopefully will prevent, you know, will uphold the integrity and prevent the corruption. So it's much easier for you all to work later, yeah. And then the second is the effort should be extended to school and higher learning institutions. They're focusing on, because UNESCO focusing on school, am I right? Education. So I suspect we also need to extend this statement to the community, to the informal education. Yeah, everybody has the responsibility to promote integrity. And then the third is to provide effective, comprehensive, and ongoing anti-corruption education to young people. They can create a culture of integrity and accountability and free from the grip of corruption in our society. And hopefully that's the job probably of companies, of what you call the employers, organization, yeah, later. And then why education? On integrity matters, I quote from OECD, they put, I think, about like 14 statement why education matters. Integrity is like a key pillar of political, economic, and social structure. Without integrity, I think many other speakers mentioned, we are in trouble basically. Yeah. The second, the recommendation calls on countries to raise awareness of the benefit of public integrity and to reduce tolerance of violation of its standard and to carry out related education activities. The third countries that work on education of public integrity commit to honest young people, not a nature desire for fairness and equity. So basically, it is good to instill the fairness and equity among the youngster. So the goal is being sustainable culture, as mentioned by Dr. Azmi just now, integrity, and hopefully a better future for all. And the fourth, they give an example of the OECD Education for Integrity, Teaching Anti-Corruption, Values and Rule of Law toolkits, which emphasizes the necessity of mobilizing key stakeholders to incorporate education for integrity into the school system. So later I will talk about the need to for companies, for outside organizations, NGOs, and so on to play their roles in supporting integrity education, especially the school and also the higher learning institution. The next is educating children and youth for integrity can help empower the next generation to prevent corruption and strengthen the capacity of the education system to identify, act upon, and prevent misconduct. And I think I saw many examples, especially nowadays, when people viral, for example, some wrongdoings from the part of the community, like parking in the wrong, land, OKU means just not only kelainan upaya, not only program upaya, but also kelainan upaya. Yeah, people like me, I think, getting into that what you call the category. Yeah, and then the analysis of education policy is a good predictor of corruption risk, and can provide evidence on how to prevent it. And seven. This is the role of government to facilitate the knowledge, what kind of knowledge that need to be instilled, skill and behaviors to fight corrupt practice, and establish the new behavioral norms and values for the society. And again, there is a need to, as mentioned by Raja Azura this afternoon, talking about reflection is very important. And one of the purposes of reflection is to ensure that our what we call the so-called standard are at par with the challenges or the change that's happened in the society. Because things like using the smartphone. So I don't think you can find the smartphone back in 70s or 80s. So this kind of changes need to revive with our so-called standard compliance is still relevant for the current society. The goal being sustainable culture integrity, and building a culture integrity begins with education of young people. The knowledge skill they acquire now in the school system will shape their country's future and help uphold integrity, which is essential in preventing corruption. And engaged school system is critical in inspiring norms for public integrity. There is a growing trend around the world today involves countries using their school system. So it's not something that is alien. So many actually countries like Finland, Denmark, they already teach integrity in their school system. We do have this kind of subject before. If you remember, back in 70s, 60s, they have what subject? Civic, pendidikan civic. Yeah, pendidikan civic. Now some moral, maybe agama also. Let's say some element of integrity there. Yeah, and that number 13 it is good to engage young people in ongoing dialogues, engaging them. It's very important. I can see the different culture because been with the AKEPT for quite some time. So countries like Finland, they're Scandinavian especially, they are grooming young, very young, just graduated from university to be exposed with the international kind of culture. They came to Malaysia, for example, to be attached with the foreign embassy and so on. But in our case only we send quite senior people to other countries. So this is different. The trust, how trust we are on the young people. So I think it's high time for us, especially nowadays, to trust young people, good, trust young people to develop their own understanding. We are talking about the learning, quality learning. And then the 14 is education for public literacy is about inspiring ethical behavior and equipping young people with knowledge and skill to resist corruption. Somehow education can help prevent corruption. So this is a general statement actually. When I look at some of the initiatives taken, there are many actually, including in the press, in the media. They are talking more on the enforcement side. They talking about law, rule of laws, less and less on education. Yeah? Whereas, you remember not my statement? We have to develop the culture. We have to develop integrity. We have to develop the culture. I think it's a fact, am I right? Before we enforce with the compliance with rule of laws. Yeah. So somehow education been left behind when you talk about anti-corruption. Yeah? So by nature, education is through process. I think understood. A reality that is reflected in the way we establish our education system. Thank you. So there are a multitude factors that can lead the policymakers to choose the solution. As mentioned, there's no as an anti-corruption or anti-corruption day. Yeah? I try to share with you this day something about education about integrity, as I mentioned before. And then this is I give two examples what has been done by international organization. One is by UNDP. In 2004, they recognized the first generation as a vital agent for positive change, and they developed I think the last year they have what you call anti-corruption day, with the team uniting with youth against corruption, shaping tomorrow integrity, and they realized that because in this world they have 1.9 billion youth between age of 10 to 24. So I think it's very large, and this large youth generation in history is living predominantly in developing countries. I'm not very sure Malaysia is still developing or developed countries. It's supposed to be developed ready, 2020, 2030, am I right? And then the next is about one lead by UNDP, the other one is by UNESCO. They come up with the handbooks to teach integrity in the school, secondary school. So just skip this one. And then what does Malaysia can do with this kind of movement especially at the national level. So we can basically use the OECD recommendation as guidelines, which emphasize on the importance of the whole society culture of public integrity. I think if that's the case, and then each and every adults are involved in educating our young generation, empowering them to take stand in promoting integrity and, of course, the anti-corruption. That education and the book also provide comprehensive framework, as mentioned, and approach to implementing education for public integrity might vary across countries. So basically, we cannot just copy any plan, or education from other countries to Malaysia, but somehow we have to adapt and adopt strategy. So, and then this is a watching approach to education of integrity. So I prefer the first one, leveraging cross-curricular approach to involve all students. So I think it's much easier. So I don't propose, to teach integrity, because if that's the case, there will be a lot of subjects in the school system. So in education, we can have, the core curriculum and also the supplementary basic curriculum. So I guess integrity cut across any subject, even in mathematics. People misunderstood that mathematics actually is talking about integrity. They cannot have 2 plus 2 and become what? 5. Yeah? So 2 plus 2 is 2. That's integrity, right? Yeah? And then the second approach is mainstreaming education for public integrity. And if there is a requirement, maybe kita terdesak, probably you need to have the second approach to teach integrity subject, as a subject. And then delivering education for integrity by public integrity body, like SPRM, MACC, and even your organization. So just now, from what you call the Pakeso, share, yeah? Many of us actually are willing to share. And then they're delivering education for public integrity in after-school program. This is also very important. Parents, again, you talk about the parking, talking about those traffic lights. I don't think teachers play the major role. So I think the parents, isn't it? Because only parents or maybe the relative will bring children, youngster outside the school. So we need to engage public as a whole, in our effort to educating integrity. And this is a tool, some of the tools, developing teaching learning outcome. I think learning outcome, as far as I remember, almost all higher education curriculum, they take some issue in integrity and also in not directly in anti-corruption, but they're focusing on integrity because they have to comply with our national education philosophy, develop the holistic human being. Yeah? And then supporting implementation through stakeholders engagement, mobilizing educators through training. And this is especially when we talk about the teacher. Yeah? I mentioned the concept of teaching, teachers involve teachers. So we need to have basically good and, if possible, the best teachers in the world. Because teachers somehow will determine the success of our education system. Yeah? And then building the evidence base for education, and I share with you some 3 evaluation, assessment, education of integrity. One is applying regression, discontinuity analysis. The second, qualitative and participatory research method, where we can have students, their perception, measure their perception. And the third is the behavioral insight, looking at the person's whether they are having tendency towards the cheating behavior and at the beginning and the end of their participation. And with that, we in Malaysia, I'm not sure BCC has shared their program. They have 4 or 5 strategy actually to calculate the integrity and anti-corruption education in the school, and very selected. And in conclusion, I say that we need to work together, to promote, develop integrity among our youngsters. And this is not just the job of teachers, but the parents and the whole society. With that, thank you very much for your space given to me.
Thank you, Dr. Majid, for your speech.